From WDWNT, the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news, this is ParksCenter. Happy weekend, everybody. It's ParksCenter, but on a Saturday. A little bit of fun for you. Thanks for tuning in. We are here for the 65-hour marathon for the Cast Pantry, and with me is Allison.
Happy Saturday, everyone.
And Jill.
Hello.
And Kamila.
Hi, it's great to be here.
And fresh off the plane from New York, Pete Carney.
Sivako. Happy Wednesday, everyone.
And we nailed it. Good job, everybody. That's exciting. I'm happy.
No mute.
You nailed it.
Yeah, no mute. We're all good. So we're going to talk about a lot of things tonight. Just a regular ParksCenter, but we got a tight 30 because there's a new show coming on right after us. So we're going to start by talking about festivals. There are 4 festivals in total for Epcot, and even though we are in a world where we did not open Disneyland, we still got in all 4 festivals in one shape or another. Pretty exciting. So the festival is actually food, and the Festival of the Holidays has merch and all the great things we always love from a good festival. We got all the reviews on WDWNT.com, but we also have a correspondent who was there on the scene. Miss Jill Diffendahl, you were there. How did it go? What happened?
I was there. I was many of those food reviews you see on WDWNT.com for the Festival of the Holidays came from the horse's mouth. I spent all day yesterday traversing World Showcase and sampling a whole lot of stuff. And let me say, there was quite so with the one exception of which is what everyone can guess, the Italy Pavilion, which is always terrible. There was a lot of really good food there. For people who are going to the festival, my recommendations are absolutely hit the Mele Kalikimaka booth, which is the Hawaii booth. The food there was new this year. There was some really excellent stuff there. And it's funny because it's the first place we went. And by the end of our whole loop around World Showcase, we were like, wow, the first place we went was kind of the best. They had a really good, this coconut custard tart that was just fantastic, especially if you love coconut. It was A+. There was some good stuff at Mexico. There was some really good curry bowls at China. So it was really good. The other fun thing is we actually got festival merch. This festival was kind of weird because usually we get a preview of the merch from the Disney Parks blog a little bit in advance. And this time we didn't. And still not sure why, but there was a little bit of festival merch. They had a festival, a magic band, and a few other things. There was a huge pin drop yesterday. So for pin collectors out there, there was a ton of stuff that dropped yesterday. There were some new cavalcades with holiday themes. So there was like fun new Mickey Mouse cavalcade going around World Showcase. The other fun thing is there's some new entertainment. So same entertainment groups, but new shows. It was awesome because Voices of Liberty is out on the American Gardens Theater stage doing Christmas music. I got to see a little bit of that, and it was fantastic because Voices of Liberty is just the best. There was some new music from Christmas music from Mariachi Cobre and the Jammers. But overall, it's interesting because Tom was with us for a while and remarked that this was probably the most crowded he's seen a festival opening day, which I thought was weird. But I think it's because it fell on Thanksgiving weekend, and so the parks were definitely pretty high capacity this weekend. It was really hard to get a park pass for annual pass holders, especially the park passes were gone. But it was a good time. I thought it's definitely there were very few things we had that weren't good, like I said, other than Italy. Also, there's a charcuterie plate at the Prost stand in World Showplace. Don't get because the cheese on there is terrible. If you like charcuterie, you're going to be really disappointed in the cheese. We all said it tasted like some analogous version of feet. So don't try that one. But otherwise, some really good stuff, really enjoyable And as usual, Epcot festivals are always a good time. So a lot of fun and nice to see so many Christmas decorations out across the park. That was really gorgeous.
Did you get to see this? Was this happening when you were there, the Joy?
I missed Joy. We spent so much time in World Showcase doing all the food and festival reviews that the only thing I got to do and I'm so sad I missed Winnie the Pooh because he looks so fun. The only thing I got to do in all of Future World was the Merry and Bright holiday lights at the land before I left, but didn't get to spend a whole lot of time in Future World this time around because, the festival is World Showcase heavy, and that's where we spent most of our day yesterday.
I want to know what your favorite item was that you ate, because as I was reading all the reviews and like living vicariously through all of you reviewing this stuff, I really wanted the L'chaim potato pancake, the latke with lox on top, because I'm from Long Island and I love bagels and lox, and it's like my favorite thing.
Shout out to Matt Soberman.
Did you get to try that?
Right, the latkes. Actually, we don't. Maybe this is inside baseball for y'all about how WDWNT does festival reviews, but we don't buy every single item from every single booth, every single festival. If it's something they had at the last festival, we don't get it again usually because honestly, it would just be untenable. There's no way we could get every single item from every single booth. So we focused on all the stuff that was new. So actually, I didn't get a chance to try the latkes at L'chaim. Unfortunately.
But you did say that you tried this.
L'chaim, yes.
The Hawaiian.
L'chaim.
And this stuff was good? From
yes.
Hawaiian booth?
Was it Ecto Cooler?
So the drink was terrible. It kind of is. To be quite honest with you, Pete, it is absolutely an alcoholic Ecto Cooler. So if that's your jam, go for it. It wasn't bad. I didn't think it was good, but the dish in the front there is and Alicia brought along Olu Mel, so it was kind of fun that we got to bring Olu Mel to the Hawaii booth. But yeah, that dish in the front is the coconut custard tart. That was so very good. That I feel like that is probably my choice as the best dish of the festival.
Nice. Okay, so turning from the festival to stuff actually coming back. Again, we have a closed park in Paris, but yet we keep bringing things back at WDW. So that's kind of cool. But so the stuff they're bringing back is they're bringing back fireworks. They're bringing back Woody's Lunchbox. Allison, so the next time you go back, make sure to get that. I know how you love counter service.
I actually eat there. I like the grilled cheese there. It's really good. Any grilled cheese that puts pimento in it, that's one of the few counter services that I actually will do.
Nice.
And the grown-ups lemonade is a great little beverage as well.
So the fireworks, they've added fireworks to the projections on the castle. Pete, I know that you were witness to some of the fireworks practices that they had out there for a while. How are you feeling about the fireworks? And you haven't had a chance to see them yet, right?
Not yet. I know that's so weird that the festival kicked off and I haven't tried everything yet, and these fireworks and holiday decorations are in full swing, and I have not seen them at night in the Magic Kingdom yet. I will say I'm not surprised based on the other parks. Universal brought back their water show. SeaWorld has their Christmas stuff going on, including pyrotechnics there. So I don't think Disney wanted to be outdone. I'm very happy to see this back. I don't know how long they get away with this, only because from everything I've heard and everything I've seen, it does look very crowded in front of the castle at night. And I don't think that looks too good PR-wise. So unless and I'm assuming they're going to do something about it, kind of like how with the Epcot Food and Wine, where they were like, you have to stand off to the side, and they kind of figured it out as they went. I'm sure there'll be some kind of markings on the floor or making people kind of keep moving because it does look crowded in front of the castle. But very excited about the fireworks. Happy it's back. I think they're bringing a little bit more magic to the Orlando area. So this is very exciting times. Hooray.
Right. Yeah, so they brought back like I was saying, the Woody's Lunchbox stuff. Allison, you're a fan of Woody's Lunchbox?
Yes, believe it or not, I am a fan of Woody's Lunchbox. I've only had the grilled cheese and some of the sides, but it's just one of the better grilled cheeses that you can have pretty much anywhere. So this is one place that I will get. counter service.
Nice. Okay. So
I'm psyched because I actually have a Studios Park Pass for tomorrow, and the tachos from Woody's Lunchbox are actually on my agenda for things that I need to do while I'm at Studios tomorrow. I know that's ridiculous. I'm like, if I don't get a Rise boarding group, it's fine, but I need to go get those tachos.
Yeah, I mean, keep your priorities in order. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
What about, I feel like something else just opened back up, and I can't remember what it was.
I'll just give a little tip to any of the drinkers out there. Also, Woody's Lunchbox is one of the only places you can mobile order alcohol and have it waiting for you, as opposed to going to a bar, waiting in line, waiting for the bartender to make it. So if you just go to your app, get that Grown Ups Lemonade, you can just go pick it up when it's ready, and it's a lot of fun. Have your ID ready.
Tips from Uncle Pete. That's fantastic.
That's right.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and jump ahead then to the Park Hopper. Park hopping has returned. Kamila, I know you work for a travel agency. How excited are you about park hopping?
I think I will say this. I think it's exciting for locals, pass holders, people who have been wanting the park hopping to come back. But I feel like for resort guests, for people who are going to buy day tickets, I don't know that I think Park Hopper is worth it just yet, because the hours in the park are still going to be pretty limited once we get back to January and we kind of get away from the holiday season. And so, if Magic Kingdom is closing at 6, I mean, I guess theoretically you use a Park Hopper to hop over to another park that's staying open later. But I just feel like with the hours being what they are, I just don't know that I think it's worth it yet to buy those tickets, and they still cost the same. But I think it's very exciting for people who are pass holders, and you have the Park Hopper as part of your pass. I think that's the crowd that will probably be the most excited about this and get the most use out of it in the beginning.
Very cool.
It's interesting. We were just talking about this earlier tonight, and kind of like the restrictiveness of it right now is you have to have a park pass for sort of your first park, and then you must go kind of like check in at that park, and then you can't park hop to another park until 2 p.m. or later. And so we were kind of talking about that sort of, there's a lot of hoops to jump through in order to be able to park hop. And of course, like absolutely the annual pass holder set is who this is aimed at, that they're the ones who are going to love this. But it's interesting, and I know they talked about this on Pressing Issues, that it's going to kind of shift what park pass value is kind of set at. That there are some people who are like, if I can't get a park pass for Magic Kingdom, I don't want to go. But now they can get that, the park pass for Epcot, that's usually the one that's most easily available. Go, like, literally swipe in at Epcot and then turn around and leave and go to Magic Kingdom. The question is, what happens at 2 o'clock when you get to Magic Kingdom and it's busy? Like, sure, you can turn around and go back to Epcot, but are people going to do that? But on the other hand, like, I was at Animal Kingdom today. I got there at 2 o'clock and the crowds were absolutely diminishing. I got there at 2. By the time I left at 4, waits had gone down. Safaris was literally a walk-on. So there's absolutely advantage to getting to a park later in the evening. It's just, and Pete kind of alluded to this earlier, that there are things that they've kind of worked out over time that, they start one way and then they kind of evolve it. But so I think this is one of those things that what their requirements are for being able to park hop are going to shift as they kind of figure things out, but they kind of want to start off as restrictive as they can to not let things get out of control. And then as they see what happens, they'll shift things to make it hopefully a little bit easier, as long as they feel like that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, you know what? For me, I was shocked that, Universal opened up with just like go wherever you want to, whenever you want to, basically. Like they have 2 parks with much smaller capacity, and those parks were both open for basically a free-for-all. Now, obviously, that's catching up to them a little bit because they're starting to see that they are loaded to capacity. But the fact
there was a huge standby line yesterday. Just yesterday, I was talking to our Universal reporter this morning, and she was saying, like, she showed me the video she took yesterday, that at 4 p.m. yesterday, the standby line to get into Islands of Adventure was hundreds and hundreds of people long because the park was at capacity and there was a line of people who were basically waiting for somebody else to leave so that they could come in. And so, absolutely, like Universal, it is catching up to Universal that they've been so kind of unrestrictive with their park hopping ability. And now people, but granted, again, this is a holiday weekend, so I think it's a little bit different in terms of the crowd level. But it was crazy to see that video of just the line wrapping like down past Toothsome and then turning around and coming back and over the bridge just for people to try to get into Islands of Adventure when it was already at capacity.
I also don't think you can do one park without doing the other, Universal. I know we're not talking about Universal, but I feel like you have to be able to go back and forth, especially with the Harry Potter stuff and just with their lack of rides, especially with weather shifting right now in Orlando. Yeah, there it is. Islands of Adventure, besides a couple of Harry Potter rides, like theirs are mostly water rides on that side of the park. And then, the original park, or whatever you guys call it, is like Screen Central. I think when you put the two together, it actually makes a full day of interesting rides, but that's just my hot take. So I honestly hear you guys talking about it this entire time. I'm like, what do they mean park hopping Universal? And I remember that it's two parks and not just one.
Well, and that actually burns you if you have a little kid who wants to go to both and you didn't pay for the park hopper and you want to get on the Hogwarts Express. And I've talked about how much I hate this so much, is that you have to get there and they're like, oh, you don't have a park hopper, but if you step right over here, you can pay to have that put on. And how do you look at that little kid and go, no, sorry, we're not getting on that and doing that? So I feel like that was the worst. I love the idea that like the Hogwarts Express connects those two areas, but having them in two different parks, while it benefits Universal, it hurts the consumer. I think that's just my.
I guess it depends where you found that little kid.
He was just like standing by like a trash can, and I was just like, you know what, kid, let's get on the Hogwarts Express and go do something.
An Epcot dinner table? That's cool.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So anyway, speaking of,
we took a little bit of a left turn here.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of Ratatouille. The Ratatouille ride, my hot take, if there is one, is I'm excited about this. I think there are a lot of people, and I don't mean to call anybody out, but Tom Corliss, that say that it's not a good attraction, and that's fine. To me, though, it's something new in World Showcase. That's an attraction. It didn't take away from anything. Like, that's our hate or anger about Mickey's Runaway Railway, right? Is that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, is that it's where there used to be something that we loved and they replaced it with this. Had they not, like they're doing in California, it probably would have been fine. That's what I'm thinking about the Ratatouille ride. So I'm actually pretty excited about it. They gave us a little bit of a behind the scenes peek of it. And we have that video on our website. But one of the things we had heard was that this attraction was way behind, even though the area in front has been worked on. They put up signage and fast pass signs and wait times, and the fountain is working and all this kind of stuff. But yet at the same time, the inside is rumored to be kind of not even close to starting. So they're saying it's opening up in 2021. They dropped this video, and I'm not going to play it here, but you can go and check it out on our website. But Allison, you saw this video, right? What are you thinking? Are you excited about this?
So yeah, I feel the same way you do. I think I mean, my biggest concern is that I hope that it's a lot of the footage they use in this video is footage from the ride in Paris, and I hope that they do as good of a job in the Orlando version as they do in Paris, because it looks like it's really well themed, and it's probably the first time I've been like really excited about a dark ride in a long time. And I think it's because the last time it was like, oh, Maelstrom is going away, so like Frozen I actually think is really well done, but we lost Maelstrom for that. And so this is just like, this is brand new. France has never had a ride, and I'm glad that it's like something really cute. And I also think that Ratatouille is one of the better Pixar films, and it's probably one people know, but not with the same affection as a Finding Nemo or certainly a Toy Story. And so I'm glad that it's getting a little bit of love, and it's something that children who were not who were not born yet when it came out will now want to watch it on Disney Plus, and it'll have like a whole new life.
Yeah, and I think anything that we get, really almost anything new in 2021, will just feel like such a triumph for Disney and also for fans of the parks. And I will say, from a booking perspective, it's interesting because it feels like the first few months of 2021 are going to be fairly light. I feel like there was a rush of people wanting to go at the end of this year. but I think they're anticipating the first 4 months will be fairly light. So I don't know that we'll see it anytime in early 2021. But I think if we can get it, towards maybe the second or third quarter, I think that will really be nice and just something that the parks could really use and that fans could really use.
And in time for the anniversary, there's something new. We all expected the 50th anniversary is going to be this, we're going to have a whole new look to all the parks. And this year is just totally destroyed that anticipation. So something for us to look forward to.
The very first time I ride this, I want to ride it with Pete Carney. Can we do that?
Aww.
Can we make that happen?
Make it happen.
That'd be fun.
I agree with you guys. To me, I look at it like this is a Seinfeld reference, but more anything, more everything. Just keep. At this point, it could be a terrible ride. If I go on it once and it's not for me, maybe other people will go on it. Like this iteration of Figment. I don't know why people still go on it, but it takes them away from Test Track and Soarin', so I'm fine with it. So bring on the Ratatouille. Hopefully it's great.
Hopefully it will be. What's not great, more cuts. So there are another 4,000 cast members were let go this week. It feels like they had nothing left to take. I mean, there were 28,000 before that were let go, and to see another 4 is heartbreaking, especially on the heels of what we're talking about, with the cast pantry and raising money for the cast members. But 32,000 people just for one company is just a staggering amount. And yes, COVID, and yes, economic downturn, but holy moly, this was like a pain after a huge pain. It's just it seems like every time that we feel like there's going to be some relief, we're hit again. So I don't know, Jill, I'm sure you have some thoughts on this one.
It's sad to see. I think it's so hard to reconcile because we're sitting here looking at, Chapek saying parks are at 25%. Oh, wait, actually they're at 35%. And being in the parks, you see, there's a ton of people. There's a ton of people buying merchandise. And it becomes hard to wrap your head around the idea of why do they need to continue cutting people. I understand the Disneyland situation is a problem. And you can't blame, for as much as we all like to blame Chapek for everything, you can't blame Chapek for the fact that Disneyland can't reopen. And so there are a ton of cast members that can't go back to work there. But it's hard to reconcile the idea that Disney World is clearly there's people coming, there are people going to the parks every day, there are people buying the merchandise, people eating in the restaurants, and yet they're still cutting more staff. And it's tough to see, and it just makes me even more proud to be part of WDWNT and the fact that we're raising money for the cast member pantry, which is trying to help those cast members that have been furloughed, because now there are even more of them and they need even more assistance to, they have families and they need to put food on the table for their families, and we're just trying to help them do that.
Absolutely.
And especially in the Central Florida area.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, to me, it does feel like an odd choice, because some of the feedback that I'll hear sometimes about the parks is they need more quick service, or it was hard getting something to eat, or we needed someone at our resort to help us with X, Y, or Z, and there seemed to be no one available. So to some extent, it feels a little bit like a choice to have these cuts and not bring back some of these jobs, because it does feel like there are opportunities where they could have more kiosks open, maybe more things that are open during the week instead of the weekend only, and maybe that would be something that would help other people want to feel like there's value in coming right now, because part of what they're up against is the perception that you're paying the same, but maybe you're not getting the experience that you're used to. And so, these cast members are a big part of that. So it feels a little bit like a choice, as well as something that's just painful and a sign of the times.
Yeah, you know what? And 100%. So even just yesterday at the Festival of the Holidays, this was the experience we had. By the time 1, 2 o'clock rolled around, the line for every single booth at the festival was, 20 plus people deep sometimes. And the problem was not that there was a huge line. The problem was there at just about every booth, there are 3 cash registers where you walk up and you order and you pay first, and then you walk up to the booth itself where you pick up your food. Many of those booths only had 1 register working. And so the lines were getting extra long because there's only 1 person able to do the transaction. And there are probably fewer people inside the booth as well. Now, okay, I can understand that there may be some issues with having too many people in there due to social distancing guidelines and things like that. But I mean, I've absolutely seen exactly what Kamila is talking about, where there are not enough people to accommodate the guest demand, and they could absolutely bring in more staff. And to that point, I think it's a choice that they're using this as an excuse to do bare bones staffing, when in reality, guests want additional service, and they're probably losing transactions because guests walk in and see there's a huge line. I'm going to turn around and walk right back out the door, when if there were more cast members to accommodate guest demand, they wouldn't need to do that.
Yeah. Well, and, is this connected? I mean, Joe Rohde, who is just a legend, obviously, has announced his retirement. To me, we're talking about, again, a legend. I mean, the guy that put together the Animal Kingdom, the guy who, put together the Pandora and, oh my gosh, Guardians of the Galaxy Tower out in California. I mean, he has put together some of my favorite projects. And, this is a weird time for him to step down, I would think, especially since, there are a lot of Imagineers that were gone because of cuts. Obviously, I wouldn't have assumed he would be one that would be, susceptible to being cut. But is this a forced situation, or is it just time for him to step down?
I could see.
I really hope it's not.
It being coercion, not forced. But I could see him being the kind of guy who, well, number one, there's not going to be a new huge project for him for a while until they get more financially secure. And so that's creatively not exciting for him. And he's been there for 40 years. But I think the real reason is he probably also cares about the people that work for him. And he's like, my salary is huge. And if I step out now and I talk to them, maybe I can retain 5 other jobs of people who are really, really talented and up and coming. And maybe he made that kind of a deal, and that was happening because he saw the writing on the wall with just all of these cuts, especially with entertainment, and you just can see the values of the current leadership in all of this, and he's not the kind of guy who would go publicly and say I'm stepping down to preserve these other jobs. But I could see that kind of thing happening, and then the not having a professional thing to look forward to in the next couple of years at the end of your career is well, why? Why not just take this time to travel? We know he loves to travel. Add to that earring.
Right. Pete?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say one, he was working on a project. He was working on the cruise island that they just signed the lease for, which leads me to believe, too, and I think Allison, I agree with most of what she said. I don't know if he's stepping down to save other jobs, because I don't think that's what's happening at the Disney company right now. But I could see that he's having more pushback than he had in the past, whether that's budgetary issues or having more staff come in or saying we need this kind of expert. We want to be authentic. We have to spend the extra money here to give the guests the experience they deserve. And then upper management just saying, no, you don't have that money, Joe. So I think in these tumultuous times, I don't think he could do the job to the best of his ability. And I think he recognizes that. And why not go out with your head held high? And you look back at his legacy at Disney. And also, if you read in his post that he put up, this isn't the end of Joe Rohde. It's going to be sad to see him not at Disney, but it's going to be a big get for whoever he ends up working for or consulting for.
Yeah. Jill?
So we talked about this a lot on News Tonight last night. This was actually the top 7 discussion on News Tonight was the top 7 projects that Joe Rohde has done for the Disney company. And what we settled on was number 1 was Animal Kingdom, because at the end of the day, my argument that Tom had to concede to was the fact that Joe Rohde was the one who was able to execute on Walt Disney's dream of bringing live animals to guests in the parks. But more to that, like we talked about the fact that there are very few Imagineers in the Walt Disney Company history who are synonymous with a park. You know, you've got Marty Sklar in Epcot, you've got Tony Baxter at Disneyland Paris, and you have Joe Rohde at Animal Kingdom. And you know, there's a point, and obviously, I mean, that was more than 20 years ago, and he has continued to bring us great projects. But at some point, like, I don't think there's ever anything Joe is going to do for the Walt Disney Company that is going to compare to that. That's always going to be his legacy here. But I think, I think there is a potential that Joe was pressured to leave due to salary cuts and all the other staffing cuts that happened. I don't know that that's the case, but I think it's absolutely possible. And the other thing is, even if he wasn't, you know, for someone like Joe, who has been such a creative and whose best projects have not been bound by cost restrictions. I mean, look at the level of detail in something like Harambe Village or the queue for Expedition Everest. That's not what Disney is doing right now. That level of creative detail costs money, and that is not what Disney is doing right now. So Joe Rohde cannot express his true potential within the current environment of the Walt Disney Company. So even if he was still able to have a job here, you know, he's handcuffed. So how satisfying is that for someone who is advanced in their career as Joe Rohde is?
Yeah. One thing I want to throw to Kamila, like you're more West Coast, that Guardians Tower project he did seemed to come out of nowhere I think he killed that project. That's one of my favorite attractions.
Yes. That ride is so well done. And I feel like no matter how many times you ride it, you whether it's walking through the queue, and what's cool about that queue is there's kind of the outside, which is, you know, just outside lines, but then you get inside, and then you get in the elevator, and then you get out of the elevator, and it's just 3 separate experiences, and then there's the actual ride. You haven't even gone on the ride yet, and you've already experienced so much. And the ride is incredible. I actually also love the Halloween overlay they do at Disneyland for this one. But I mean, his mark is just everywhere, and I don't know how you let that go. I don't know how you replace that, because that's the standard that Disney should maintain for their work.
Yeah.
Just to add something to that too, like, not only is that ride great, that ride was written off as, I can't believe Disney's doing this. It's going to be the worst ride ever. Like, everyone was like, how dare they get rid of Tower of Terror? Anything they put in there, oh, you're going to do a Guardians overlay? This is going to be trash. It's going to be garbage. The whole Disney community, everyone said it, and they went on it, and they were like, holy cow.
It's a delight.
People said that about Pandora, too. They were like, how are you going to make an entire land based on this Avatar movie that's so old that nobody even cares about anymore? You know, Joe makes magic happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you just say
truly
rose
a
to the
brilliant
challenge? Like, how would you say that in Na'vi?
I don't know. I got to look that up.
Okay. Yeah, I figured that was the case. So one last thing we want to talk about here tonight is that, you know, it's like we talked about with Joe, like we talked about with the rest of the cast. You know, it's a tough time right now, and so we're doing the 65 hours for the Cast Pantry to try and, you know, raise money for these folks who brought us the magic. If you saw the T-shirts that we had on sale that sold out in the first 7 hours on carouselproducts.com, I want to thank everyone who bought those shirts, because all of the proceeds go to the Cast Pantry. Had a lot of people go, hey, can we get some more? We're going to work on doing something. You know, that was a limited edition, but we're going to work on doing something to continue to give to the Cast Pantry. I was a cast member for a brief amount of time. I know how, like, dedicated these folks are, and to me, I mean, like, I can't think of a better thing for us to be doing. So thank you for everyone who's donated. Thank you for everyone who has watched what we've done so far. Please, kick in for the auction tomorrow night. There's some great prizes that are great items that are going to be ending tomorrow night. But I just,
for example.
Yeah, well, I just want to say, though, thank you to all the cast members who are out there, and I hope that there are brighter days ahead and that a lot of you folks can get back to bringing the magic, because it means a lot. So, Allison, what were you going to say?
For example, some of our great items. Do you want to share one of
Go
the
ahead.
great items we have?
Yeah, you should talk about it.
Sure. We are auctioning off a chance to be on ParksCenter to join us on a Wednesday night. So if you enjoy the show and you want to just chat with us, you'll get to hop on before, chat with us, and do a whole episode with us. I know that if I were not on the show, I would probably be bidding big bucks for this, because this is the best part of my week. So bid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come be a part of the action.
Yep. So anything else? Any other thoughts from the panel before we pass it back to the team?
Thanks
How
for.
about those
I
cast
noticed a lot of
members?
you guys are.
Go ahead, Pete.
Nope. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, donate, help the cast members, and then come watch me and Pete have brunch tomorrow.
That's a great point. Tomorrow, 10:45. Tune in. I was going to just thank everyone who's been staying up, and we know we have the best fans, but you guys have been watching all the shows in the chat, just as tired and sleepless as us. So thank you for also just sticking around and hanging out with us all weekend. And if you can donate, please do so.
Yeah. Otherwise, thank you guys for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we will see you guys next Wednesday night at our normal time, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you then. Thanks a lot, guys.
See you in 90 minutes.
Bye.
Bum, 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 ba, da, 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 da. Bum, 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 bum.
Banana.
Banana. Should we just skip this Tom show? I mean, I don't know.
We can do another hour and a half of ParksCenter. It's fine.
It's just like a
Give him the
normal
bump.
post show.
Give him the old bumps.